Hey everybody, this video is an overview of a new series from Rotel called Diamond. It's hard to believe that over 40 years ago, when Audiovice first became a Rotel dealer, Rotel had already been a business for 20 years making high-value stereo gear. This means it's now been 60 years since the founding of Rotel, and to celebrate that milestone, Rotel is introducing a new series called Diamond. In this video, we'll break down this new series and tell you what we think. Now let's get started. If you are a fan of excellent hi-fi gear, you have likely seen all of the great reviews on Rotel gear over the decades. They have made a business of producing no-frills audio gear that sound pretty incredible for the money. Rotel spent several years developing their Michi series of products, which were in an entirely new price category for them. They were not typical Rotel with a totally different design and much higher price point, but they have received a very positive critical acclaim from around the world. After Michi came out, Rotel took some learnings they gained from its development and updated their main products to Mark II versions, using Michi tech with a few other tricks they came up with during the design phase. The Rotel Diamond products come in between the more affordable Rotel gear and Michi. Audiovice was very lucky to get the first two products in before their release, and even better, got to spend some time with one of the people deeply involved in their development and get all the interesting stories of how they came about. The first two Diamond products are a CD player with a built-in DAC and a very powerful integrated amplifier. The Diamond series is pretty similar in design to the Rotel appearance we know and love. They have added some heatsink looking fins on either side of the front panel, which gives it a beefier look. Both models are available in black or silver like the classic Rotel pieces. Small round buttons for many of the functions are laid out symmetrically on the front panels, with both having a pretty nice LCD display in the center. Build quality to my touch and feel seems to be the same as the other Rotel pieces, which is quite high. The buttons all feel solid and rear panel connectors are all well put together, and the physical fit and finish is nicely done. With Michi, Rotel went for a much more expensive outer chassis and front panel, but Diamond is all about putting as much of the Michi tech into the parts we do not see from the outside and keeping the cost closer to typical Rotel gear by sticking with their clean and simple design. Now, when we had our first listening session with these and we met with one of the key people who oversaw the design, we learned some really fun stuff about how these pieces evolved. The Rotel engineers in Japan wanted to produce a far better CD player than they had ever made. If you know much about audio, you probably know the DACs, or the digital to analog converters inside a CD player, or really anything digital for that matter, play one of the critical roles in the ultimate performance you get. There are several companies that specialize in high-performance audio DACs. The Rotel team went as far as to test DACs from all over the world to try and get the best performance they could. They had tried a few and were still not 100% pleased with the outcome and decided to work with ESS and test one of their high-end multi-channel DACs you would typically see in an expensive home theater receiver. Since they had never used something like this in a stereo application, they worked with the ESS engineers to develop the best type of circuit for stereo use. The end result allowed them to use 4 DACs per channel and have a completely balanced audio path from beginning to end, which greatly reduced the noise floor. They paired this up with a great power supply system and some Michi parts and were just blown away at how much better this design sounded than anything they had tried before. Then, this is the really interesting part. They had something on their hands that sounded so good, but it was just a CD player. With so many music streamers on the market and the popularity of music streaming, they actually went back to the drawing board to redesign the entire unit to be not only a CD player, but a DAC with multiple inputs. This delayed the whole project almost a year, but we are happy they went this direction as it makes the DT6000 a great value. In their quest for the best audio performance, this delay allowed their team to dive even deeper into trying different component parts inside the RA-6000 integrated amp to improve its audio quality. Hundreds of comparisons were made with various parts and signal paths using learnings from Michi and the Mark II Rotel models. So while the CD player was transforming into a DAC, Rotel took that time to make the RA-6000 sound even better. This is pretty fanatical And that level of passion is one of the reasons Rotel is able to celebrate 60 years in the business. The DT6000, as I said earlier, along with it being an awesome CD player, has several digital inputs. You get a Toslink, coax, and PC input. The PC input supports high-resolution PCM audio up to 32-bit 384 kilohertz. It streams, unfolds, and renders MQA and MQA Studio, and it can also do just about every DSD audio file under the sun. That is pretty darn flexible. We asked Rotel why did they not include a streaming platform, and they gave us a very reasonable and interesting answer. And their answer was they wanted this unit to be something that would stay current for many years, and felt including a streamer with the way that tech is changing might not enable it to be current for a decade or more. With almost all streaming units having a digital output, you can easily send their digital stream into the DT6000 for much improved audio quality. And if you are into Roon, the DT6000 is fully Roon tested and will show up in your list of audio sources inside of Roon. Now, the transport on the DT6000 worked flawlessly for us. Loading and playing a physical disc felt very fast. Since this started out as what was supposed to be their best CD player ever, Rotel put a lot of effort into the CD transport. The CD mechanism is spring-loaded with damping materials designed to reduce any vibration during playback. They use a precision motor-driven optical laser system made to pick up every detail from your CDs. The rear panel includes IR jacks and an RS-232 connection for control systems, but the part we really like is the addition of the balanced audio connectors. With the entire audio path being fully balanced, it's great they offer balanced outputs to complement it, and I love it when manufacturers tell us which DAC they are actually using, and the DT6000 uses an ESS Sabre ES9028 Pro 8-channel DAC. As I said earlier, this was then custom configured with 4 dedicated redundant channels to the left and right outputs. The entire signal path from the DAC to the analog outputs is a fully balanced differential circuit design using some of the very expensive capacitors they had specially designed for the Michi series of gear. Now, if you know about audio design, you are fully aware that the best circuit and DACs in the world will not perform to their best if the power supply is not up to the job. Rotel has always been known for their robust power supplies, and as you might expect, developed a custom one for the DT6000. It uses a low noise toroidal transformer they even custom made at Rotel. This feeds independent analog and digital voltage regulators. Even the internal circuit boards have isolation and electronic decoupling designs that are filtered down from the top-end Michi products. These include noise and distortion in both the analog and digital sections. There's a lot to like about the features and technology inside the DT6000. It seemed like a really great value to us even before we got to hear it. There is really nothing else we wish it had. When I first saw the price of the RA-6000 integrated amp, I thought it might be a bit pricey, but that was before I saw its power ratings and how it was put together. This is one stout and very powerful integrated amplifier. The Class AB section is rated at 200 watts per channel into an 8 ohm load. This is not a fictional power rating as it's across the whole audio band at low distortion, but better yet, it comes very close to doubling down into a 4 ohm load, producing 350 watts per channel into 4 ohms. Well, that's pretty darn good. Input-wise, the RA-6000 has just about everything the modern music lover would need. There is a moving magnet phono input, a balanced analog connection with 3 more RCA inputs, 3 Toslink, 3 coax digital inputs, and Bluetooth aptX HD. In addition, there is a USB connection on the front for Apple products, and the rear has a USB input for computer audio. I do wish they would have included an HDMI ARC connector, as this would have made operation with a TV simpler, but it does have plenty of Toslink inputs to accept a feed from most TVs. All of the digital sources use a high-end Texas Instruments 32-bit 384 kHz DAC. The coax and Toslink inputs support 24-bit 192K PCM audio. The PC USB input renders up to 32-bit 384 kHz high-resolution music files, and it unfolds and renders MQA and MQA Studio. The RA-6000 is fully Roon tested, which means you will be able to see it and control its volume from inside Roon. This is a very good DAC, But as I said earlier, the DT6000 is really something special from a technical digital standpoint. For those of you considering pairing the RA-6000 with the DT6000 transport, I recommend you connect the DT6000 via the balanced analog outs as the DAC, and the rest of the digital circuit is superior to that in the RA-6000. You can configure any of the analog inputs on the RA-6000 for home theater bypass mode, which makes adding it to a home theater system a piece of cake. All of the inputs let you set a different turn on level, which is pretty neat too. Bass and treble controls are also on board and can be fully bypassed for the purest path, but we have to say these controls come in really handy for some older recordings where the music is great, but the recording is not. There are two sets of speaker connections for AB speakers, or you could just use both for easy by-wiring. You also get a preamp output connection, although we cannot imagine why someone would want to add a bigger amp to this guy. Finally, there are a pair of mono subwoofer outputs. Now, I wish Rotel would have allowed you to cross over your main speakers when you activated these, but that is not the case. These just each send a full range mono signal. You'll connect up to the input on your subs that then cross over the signal. The big thing that stuck out to me about the RA-6000 was its heft, which obviously is due to the massive power supply. This guy weighs a shade over 41 pounds. Like the DT6000, it uses a Rotel custom designed and made toroidal power transformer, which accounts for a lot of the weight of this unit. It also gets the same type of Michi custom made caps. After reviewing all of these great features and specs, we expected the RA-6000 to be able to drive just about any pair of speakers with ease, so we decided to really put it to the test in our listening session. We set up the RA-6000 and the DT-6000 with a pair of Sonos Faber Amati speakers. While being almost a $40,000 speaker, that is way outside the range one would ever use with the RA-6000, we wanted to use something very revealing to see just how good the stack might be. The source was a MacBook using Roon via USB input on the DT6000. Unfortunately, we only had these two units for a limited amount of time, as there were only 2 units in the United States, and Rotel brought them to us to play with. So we were only able to test using the USB connection and DAC in the DT6000. The very first thing we all noticed was how precise the soundstage was. Everything was just placed with pinpoint accuracy in a huge 3-dimensional soundstage. We played a few tracks we knew could image outside the speakers with a great system and heard the huge sound field beautifully on this combo. As we moved on to some challenging bass cuts, it became obvious the RA-6000 was up to the task. It had almost as much slam as we were used to with the Macintosh MC611 mono amps this system normally runs on. This amp will be great for speakers that really need some guts to bring out the best bass, like Magnepans or others that come to life when you give them plenty of high quality power. When we played our tracks that we used to listen for subtle nuances in voices and instruments, we heard everything we're used to hearing on the reference level gear normally connected up to the Amati speakers. We could tell the DAC and the DT6000 is pretty darn amazing for its price point, as we were able to hear all the tiny little subtle emotional cues in both instruments and voices. Our favorite tracks for rhythm and pacing toe tapping also had us tapping our toes to the music, although not quite to the level we get with the reference Macintosh stack the Amati speakers are usually driven by in this room. One thing that stood out compared to the all-tube Macintosh preamp and mono power amps was the fact this system did not sound as rich harmonically as what we're used to with the Macintosh stack. Obviously, we were not making a fair comparison, as the reference stack would sell for almost 6 times the cost of the 2 Rotel pieces. The Rotel stack sounded like we would expect from Rotel, great solid state sound that ever so slightly leans to the analytical side with fantastic bass control and stupendous imaging. Rotel has done everything they set out to do with the Diamond series, as these 2 new pieces are a great way to celebrate their 60th anniversary in the audio business. I feel like the DT6000 is going to find its way into a lot of systems, as it's just one heck of a stellar performer irrespective of price. And when you look at everything you get for its price point, it offers a ton of value to someone looking to upgrade the digital side of their system. Now, the RA-6000 is at an interesting price, as it is almost where you could buy a separate amp and preamp, but we highly doubt you would find a combo with this many features and this much great Class AB power for the price of the RA-6000. It will be a fantastic way to wake up harder to drive speakers with its abundance of onboard power. The fact that you get all of this in what is a fairly compact, although very heavy package is also a bonus. Rotel has sure come a long way since we first heard one of their little integrated amps back in 1981. We look forward to more new products like the Diamond series in the future. All right, that wraps up our take on the new Diamond series from Rotel. If you are thinking about updating your music setup, be sure to check out audioadvice.com, where you'll find more reviews just like this one, product comparisons, and our blog, where you can browse our tips and tricks how-to setup videos. We also offer free shipping, a price guarantee, and lifetime support on any products you purchase from Audio Advice. If you have any questions or if you want more info, just be sure to give us a call, chat with us, or stop into one of our award-winning showrooms, and we'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe to our channel so you never miss the latest home audio and home theater content, and we'll see you next time.